Why do people stay in toxic relationships? I'm on this healing journey, and I'm at the part of my journey where I'm learning how to process my emotions. So I'm taking a lot of time to isolate from people, from outside influences, to sit with myself and really try to figure out how I feel about a lot of the things that I've been through. One of the most recent things is the death of my ex husband, who is the father to my 6 children. We were married for 20 years. I married him when I was 18, and we got a divorce a year before he overdosed on drugs. And there's a lot with that relationship, but basically, I'm trying to figure out why people stay in toxic relationships. I'm trying to figure out why the past version of me accepted so much disrespect from someone that I loved so much. As I walk through my past with this man, there are highlights of our relationship that I'll never forget. Things that were done, things that were said, that today I would literally pack my kids up and walk out and never come back, leave everything over just that one thing. And I stayed. And I'm trying to figure out why. I'm trying to figure out why people stay in toxic relationships. At first, I thought it was for the kids. I remember my son, I guess he was like 10, 11, 12. And I asked him how he felt if I would leave his dad. Like, his dad was locked up for the second time. He had cheated on me, but he ended up getting beat up by the cops really bad, so almost to the point of death, right after he revealed that he had an affair. And I didn't want to leave him when he was like unable to take care of himself. In some kind of way, we ended up staying together. But it changes everything when you have an affair. Then he tried to say it wasn't true. He just said it because he thought I was having an affair and he wanted me to admit to it. Like, all these mind games, all these mind games. Even after he had told me that he cheated on me because I bolstered his ego too much by treating him like a god. So he ended up being full of himself and cheating on me. So we went from I cheated on you, I didn't cheat on you, I did cheat on you, I cheated on you because you treated me too good. And to this day, he would tell, well, he's dead, but up until his dying breath, he told his kids that he did not cheat on me. It was me that cheated on him. Even though there's like full proof of it, he was all over Facebook and riding all through town with the other girl. Like, everybody, except for me, knew that he was cheating on me. Like, for me, all I ever wanted was family. I'm adopted, and I don't know who my real parents are. I don't have any paperwork. I was adopted when I was 6 months old, allegedly, from some place called Haverty Grace in Maryland. I don't know. That's all I know, and I don't even know if that's true. I have more than one birth certificate connected to my social security number. It was crazy. Like, I don't know what the hell going on with any of that. But it left this hole in me, and I just wanted a family. The family that adopted me because they were having problems conceiving. Then after they adopted me, the woman ended up getting pregnant with twins. She lost them. It put even more pressure on the relationship. The relationship became abusive and toxic. They broke up. The guy, she went to the hospital. The guy tried to get me back. All types of stuff. Like, all types of stuff. So I've had issues with always wanting a family. I didn't even know I was adopted until they told me on my 11th birthday. That's crazy. And I know that those things have to affect me, and I've never processed it because I just kept going on and on and on with life, and I didn't even know that I needed to process these things happening to me. But I understand that now, and I feel like had those emotions been taken care of, acknowledged, and released when I was younger, I wouldn't have even had the toxic relationships that I had. Now I love my kids. That's the best thing that came out of my relationship, so I don't regret them. I do regret a lot of the damage that was done to the people that I love, including myself, because of the decisions that were made in that relationship. I just don't understand why people don't stay single until they know themselves on such a deep level that they can only attract their perfect mate. I don't understand it. I don't understand why this society wants people to be in relationships so badly. Before I met my husband, I didn't expect to get married, but I knew that I wanted something. I wanted something, but what I wanted was wealth and power. I wanted to be intelligent and powerful. Growing up, I wanted a family, but I didn't really picture myself being married and having kids. I saw myself flying around the world and making money. I wanted to be a professional person, but I ended up being an artist, and I ended up falling in love with somebody that I feel like manipulated me and was using me in the beginning and actually did fall in love with me. I don't think he loved me when he told me he did, but I think he ended up falling in love with me later. But I feel like I was a con just like every other woman in his life. He needed a place to stay. I was in school. He stayed at my dorm. I got kicked out. I had resources he didn't have. After I got kicked out of college, I went on the run with him and ended up getting pregnant, getting married, blah, blah, blah. So bring back to when I talked to my son when he was about 12. This is my oldest son. And at that time, his dad had gotten locked up again for the second time. I didn't want to go through it. I had gone back home to Baltimore, and I just wanted to go back to school and just raise my kids and just be a single mom and just do what millions of other women do and not have to deal with the infidelity, the drug use, the street life, all of the stuff that his father was into, loved, admired, wanted to be. He wanted to be king of the streets. He wanted to make this town Gotham, and he wanted to be the Joker in real life, and he wanted me to be Harley Quinn. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I'm dead ass serious. This is what he wanted. So I asked my son how he would feel, and he was like, well, in my school, I'm the only one who has married parents, and I don't want to be like everybody else and not have married parents. And just based off of that answer, that's why I didn't leave his dad. I should have left his dad 10 years before I ended up separating from him, honestly. All the kids would have still been born, but I feel like the trajectory of my life would have been a lot smoother had I left then, like I started to. But I didn't, and I stayed. And I don't want to say that I regret it, because I would be someone totally different. And I don't want to just like roll the dice and hope that I'd be a different, better version of myself if things would have been different. Because I don't want to live in Baltimore. I wish I could. I wish Baltimore was a safer place to raise kids, or I would still be there. I miss my home very badly, but it's changed, and it's just not a place to raise kids anymore. So I am glad that I got to get out. I'm glad that I wake up every day to a mountain. Even though I still live in the city, I live in the mountains. And just being closer to nature and being able to go further and further out from the city makes me feel like I've accomplished something. But I stayed in that relationship because I thought that socially it would be better for my kids. I was concerned with how our family was viewed by others socially. And I took great pride in having been married before I had my kids. But if you have a two-parent household and all the parents do is argue and use drugs, then maybe it's better that you go ahead and separate and one of you raise them kids on your own. Most people have a community. They have friends. They have family. I didn't have that. My adopted family doesn't really rock with me. I'm nothing like them, and I never was really accepted coming up. Everybody else knew I was adopted. I didn't. Isn't that crazy? I have to wonder how that affects me in my relationships now. I've dealt with a lot of self-doubt throughout my life and accepting less from others in relationships than what I gave them, which is part of the whole issue with toxic relationships now, and why I cut everybody off, because honestly I always give more in my relationships than I get back. So I understood that I needed to pull back. Since you attract what you are, I needed to pull back and raise my internal value more. I know that I had value, but I didn't always treat myself like I had value. It's almost like I had forgotten that I had value, because I knew that I had value at one time, but then I let people take and take and take and take and replace what they took, which was all good and wholesome things, with insecurities and doubts and judgments. And then I carried that weight for a very long time, and I carry it still. I'm still shedding the weight that others had imposed upon me, and that takes time to get rid of. You know, I was very abusive to myself because others around me were abusive to me. So I started talking to myself internally, like how they talked to me out loud, telling me I couldn't do stuff, I wasn't good enough, it wasn't going to work out. The things that I wanted to do was weird, the way I wanted to do them was odd. And maybe that's true, but it don't make it wrong. Everybody is an individual, everybody is unique. So your thumbprint literally is going to be different than everybody else's. So therefore, the things that you do and the way that you do them on this earth is going to be different than anybody else. So you can't seek validation in others because you're different. Everyone is different. And sometimes you do need to see that others can do things so you know you can do them. For example, you do need people that look like you in successful... You need to be able to see people that look like you be successful so that you know you can be successful. But that doesn't mean that you have to see other people do things the way that you want to do them in order for you to know that it's valid. You get what I'm saying? Your way of doing things is going to be unique to you. the way that you dress, the way that you speak, the way that you cook, it's not going to be like anybody else's. That doesn't make it less than. You get what I'm saying? I had to learn that. So I guess we stay in toxic relationships because we feel like that's what we deserve, or we feel like we're doing it for other people, or maybe social status. But none of those things matter if you're not happy. I was not happy. I did not have a voice. And I spent most of my relationship crying and chasing him. And it's like, I read something earlier that said, if it's of God, you don't have to chase it. And we're supposed to attract anyway. If you chase something, it's going to run from you. So I don't chase anything. I attract. I sit still. I center myself. And I become a magnet for what I want. That's the real law of attraction. But as I go through this journey of trying to figure out how I feel about things that have happened to me, it's challenging to deal with my emotions, but it's something that I have to do. Otherwise, I'm just going to be carrying questions into my next relationship. And I don't want to do that. By the time I'm 50, I want to be past this and completely whole and know exactly where I stand with myself and what's happened to me. This is my time of reflection. I'm looking at myself and figuring out who I really am. But in order to do that, I have to figure out how I feel about the things that have happened to me, because that has shaped me. I have to allow what I've been through to shape me, even the bad stuff. The bad stuff can still shape me into something beautiful. I can't just ignore the bad things that have happened to me. I'm grateful for my toxic relationship because it showed me what I don't want, and it showed me who I really am. I stood up for myself and I walked away from something that was designed to kill me and destroy me, and I didn't allow it to. So I'm proud of myself. And even acknowledging things that I've done correct is something new that I learned in therapy. I didn't feel like I deserved anything good because I had made bad decisions and hurt people. So I didn't feel like I had a right to acknowledge the things that I had done right. But for your own mental health and to keep track of your growth, what can be measured can be improved. You must celebrate your wins, all of them. It's kind of like when somebody is rude to you real loud in front of a whole room of people, but they want to apologize in private. No. Everybody sees when you make mistakes, and it gets made a big deal out of. Every time you make a mistake, it's such a big deal, and you kick yourself. But when you do something good, you kind of skirt right over it. When somebody give you a compliment, you skirt right over it. When you see a nice comment under your video, you skirt right over it. No. Why don't you indulge in the good stuff too? You're not here to just be attacked and told you did something wrong. You got to acknowledge the things that you did right. And then you find that you are more empathetic towards others as well when you start to talk to yourself better internally. Our thoughts affect our actions. So how you talk to yourself internally and how you treat yourself internally ends up materializing in the real world, and that's how you treat other people. And since I'm around my kids 24 hours a day, I need to be accountable for how I speak to myself, because it ends up being how I speak to them. But staying in toxic relationships, I don't have any toxic relationships anymore, and I make sure that I'm developing myself now so that I don't become the person that is toxic in any of my relationships moving forward in my life. I don't see me wanting to have another husband or boyfriend or anything like that. I hope that when I'm like 60 and I'm like a sly fox and I got the gray hair, maybe I'll cut it. I don't know. And I'm like real fancy and stuff. Maybe then I'll court. But like, just for the adventure and just to travel. But the responsibility and like the depths that you have to go to share a life with someone is not something. I'm exhausted. My soul is exhausted. I don't have it in me to do that. Like, I loved their father. I love their father still. I carry him with me in my heart. And that's not something that's going to go away. I feel like I'm always going to compare other people to him. And I've had so many children with him, and I've been with him half my life, like 20 years. Like, come on, yo. He's ingrained in me. And I don't want to go through that with somebody else. Falling in love does not sound appealing. It sounds like falling into a deep pit, just like depression. I don't want to fall in love. That doesn't sound appealing. It sounds horrifying, honestly. I'd rather spend my life with animals and in nature and learning, honestly. That's what brings me joy. That's how I see my future. Being very wealthy, being very removed, being very studious, being very alone. But I never feel alone. I'm surrounded by spirits and entities and animals and nature. I never feel alone. But the responsibility for other people in their emotions and their well-being, that's not something I want. It's enough to take care of the kids, even when they get older, and then they're gonna have kids. So I have grandkids. So I want to focus my life on that. But have you ever been in a toxic relationship, and at what point did you realize it was toxic? What did it take for you to see that your relationship was toxic? Were you the toxic one in your relationship? Are you willing to sacrifice relationships for any amount of time to get to know yourself? Are you a serial dater? When you get out of one relationship, do you hop right into another? Do you give yourself time to grow? I love you. Thank you for spending time with me here in Fury World. If you would like to check out my music, it's available under my artist name, The Fury of Abyss, on all music streaming platforms worldwide. Thank you for spending time with me here today, and I'll catch you in the next episode. I love you. Peace.